I'm me and the stylist, no scam and style me.
From the market to the farm to the office, money talk is everywhere. But are you making sense or nonsense? The Bank of Jamaica brings you common sense with BOJ. Real stories, real laughs, and real lessons to help you protect, grow, and manage your money. Mattress savings.
At least my mattress, you charge me to sleep on it.
Partner plan.
Remember last year we needed our payouts early? But Miss Pam gave it to her cousin first.
Or a sketchy loan flyer.
Electrifying deals.
See why making the right financial choices is pure common sense. Brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, empowering everyday Jamaicans one episode at a time.
Grandpa, it's 2026. You can't keep hiding all your money in every single pocket forever.
Thanks for joining us for CVM News at Noon. It's Thursday, August 20, 2026. I'm Amoy Harriet. Up first this afternoon, the People's National Party PNP is questioning the status of the government's maintenance contract for 100 rural school buses. Opposition spokesman on transport Michael Phillips says the contract with El Hydro expired in March and is calling on the transport minister to disclose what has been done to maintain the buses ahead of the new school year, which begins next month.
The situation is even more critical as the school buses are not held at the state-owned JUTC depots. Minister Vaz must immediately provide the country with the information so parents, students, and teachers may continue to repose the requisite confidence in the school bus system. The minister should also provide the contract cost, including management fees and other important details of the expired agreement and any proposed new deal which the ministry or JUTC may be negotiating.
Now, the Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC, says exam irregularities increased this year with unauthorized devices and the use of artificial intelligence, AI, among the concerns. The disclosure comes as CXC reports improved regional pass rates in math and a strong performance in English. But according to President of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, Aniona Jones, maintaining exam integrity remains critical to the value of students' results.
Any activity that undermines the credibility of an assessment is a concern, not only to every administrator, every educator, every parent, and every other student, because we want to know that the integrity of our exams are preserved so that our grades can be seen as valuable. Now, this again brings to the forefront the need for us to have very rigid, consistent, precise standards across all schools across the region. We are always getting such a flack when we try to implement discipline. But this is why we push so hard.
Now, Mayor of Lucy, Sheridan Samuels, is accusing the government of Jamaica of undermining and sabotaging the operations of the Hanover Municipal Corporation. Speaking at a town hall meeting in Hopewell, Hanover on Wednesday, Samuels said inadequate funding is hampering the corporation's ability to effectively carry out its daily functions. He said the Hanover Municipal Corporation receives approximately $13 million in funding monthly, compared to the more than $85 million allocated to the St. Catherine and Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporations. Samuels says the allocation to Hanover is inadequate and does not provide the corporation with enough resources to properly carry out its functions.
I want you to look at the disparity behind that. How can we ever get the opportunity to fix road? Well, let me tell you something. This is Kingston meeting in Kingston, that press conference. I have seen 2 allocations coming from the ministry. And the 2 allocations that came is speaking to $15 million. So of course, we were being victimized, we were being sabotaged in Hanover because it could have been better.
Now to a CVM News follow-up. Residents of Cooper's Pen in Trelawny have been asked to evacuate their homes as demolitions continue in the community. The latest development comes after several houses were already demolished, with residents now seeing notices directing them to leave their properties today. Our correspondent Kingsley Thompson was there. And we're going to be having the latest coming from Kingsley later on during CVM News at 7. Now, 2 Montego Bay residents are said to be the latest victims of a deadly motor vehicle crash in Trelawny this week. They are 25-year-old Alicia Dorma of Westgate Hills in Montego Bay and Anil Henry of Catherine Hall, also in the parish. Information received is that approximately 7 p.m. on Monday, a Suzuki Grand Vitara motorcar and a Freightliner truck were traveling in opposite directions along the Brocco Main Road in Trelawny when, upon reaching a section of the Brocco airstrip, the driver of the Suzuki lost control of the vehicle and ended up on the right side of the main road. The car then collided with the blue truck that was proceeding in the opposite direction. As a result of the impact, the driver of the Suzuki sustained serious injuries and was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. Miss Alicia Dormo, who was a passenger in the Suzuki, also sustained serious injuries and was assisted to hospital by citizens, where she later succumbed to her injuries. Both vehicles were extensively damaged. Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for West Hanover Heather Miller-Bennett has openly condemned the operations at the Ministry of Labour and Social Security's office in Lucy in the parish. Speaking at the Orchard Complex in Hopewell on Tuesday, the MP pointed out that since the passage of Hurricane Melissa last year, families are still displaced and still without a roof over their heads. In her words, the parish is being neglected. Miller-Bennett stated that the functions and daily activities at the Ministry of Labour's Lucy office need to be investigated to bring more transparency to the way in which the Lucy office operates. Jamaica is getting a new consul general in New York as Oliver Mayer moves on from his post in Miami. The transition comes with a significantly larger mandate, with the New York mission serving Jamaica's largest diaspora community across 33 states. Kevin Black tells us more.
Jamaica's new consul general in New York is taking on a much larger area of responsibility. The New York mission covers 33 states and serves Jamaica's largest diaspora community, with the consulate providing services including passports, citizenship, and other support to Jamaicans abroad. Speaking with Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness, Consul General Oliver Mayer says he is ready for the move after more than 7 years serving in Miami.
I've had a very good run in Florida. We covered 13 states, and the community is extremely supportive over the last 7.5 years. But I'm equally excited to work with the community in the Northeast, and they've already started to reach out to me. I'm looking forward to working with them. It's a much bigger mission, 33 states, our largest Jamaican diaspora community in the world. So it's an honor to serve the team there, serve Jamaica.
He also explains how that work differs from the role of the ambassador.
The ambassador is the head of the mission. You know, they're ultimately in charge. They will deal with the more diplomatic relationship between the country to country, you know, the bilateral relationship. We will be a little bit more granular, so to speak. We get into the nooks and cracks.
You serve the interests of the Jamaican community in the foreign country.
That's right. So Jamaica and Jamaicans. And so everybody will reach out to us, you know, whether it's the churches, the alumni groups, universities. We do the ones that do the prison visits.
He says the consulate works with community members and health professionals to provide food, healthcare, and other forms of support.
We had the borders were closed for over 2 months, and we had just in our region alone over 2,500 Jamaicans were stranded. And you know, just working with the community, we were able to, you know, put up individuals, working with the community of food and healthcare, and the doctors rallied together, and you know, we looked after them until they were able to return home to Jamaica.
Kevin Black reporting for CVM News.
It's time now for a break, but stay with us more when we...
In business, you only get one chance to make a first impression. A poor hygiene experience can quickly escalate to a PR nightmare. Don't let this be your business. Upgrade with Initial Hygiene. Our smartly engineered hygiene solutions aren't just robust. They're designed to complement your space and brand while maintaining the strictest hygiene standards. And our contract service ensures that your consumables are always stocked, giving you one less thing to worry about. Initial Hygiene, your trusted partners in professional hygiene.
Welcome back to CVM News at Noon. Now, Jamaica's economic recovery from Hurricane Melissa could be happening faster than first projected. The Planning Institute of Jamaica has cut its estimate for a return to pre-Melissa output levels from 3 years to between 1.5 and 2 years, potentially as early as the April to June quarter of 2027. But that more optimistic outlook comes as the economy contracted 2.9% in the June quarter, with key sectors including agriculture, mining and tourism still feeling the effects of the hurricane. Well, joining us right now for this discussion is economist Sandre Roden. Top of the afternoon to you, Sir Roden.
Hi, good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your viewers.
So we saw where the PIOJ has cut its estimate for Jamaica's return to pre-Melissa output levels, like I mentioned just now. What does this new timeline tell you about the state of the economy?
Well, it says the state of the economy is that it's on the road to recovery, but it is going to take some time. It's going to take some time because of all the external shocks. I know that locally we'll speak about Melissa as the main driver for economic shocks, but we have to look internationally as well, because globally, of course, you know, the war that's happening, you know, the Strait of Hormuz, that impacts a lot of things happening across the world. It impacts prices because if you look globally, you'd see that the inflation levels had risen a lot globally, and that impacts our local inflation. So even though we speak of Melissa and we speak of the impacts thereof, we have to look at this contraction as improvement because, of course, it is improving from what we had before when the levels were worse. And that says to us that our economy is a strong economy because we're rebounding a little faster than expected. And it says that even though we have those sectors that you noted earlier, mining, agriculture, etc., those sectors, they still have a part to play, and it's going to take them some time to get back to those pre-Melissa levels of production to ensure that they contribute significantly to the economy.
But the economy still contracted 2.9% in the June quarter, though. How do we reconcile that contraction with the more optimistic recovery projection?
Well, the reality is, based on the impact of Melissa alone and all the other effects of, you know, the smaller things, the drought, flooding in some areas that was caused, the time for recovery. Once we have the capital investment in the areas of, you know, housing, roads, and all of those things, we should see the economy moving at a faster rate. The reality of it is we can't have the great expectation of moving from contraction to growth really quickly based on how our economy is structured and what we've been doing. Remember, we've been on a program for the past couple of years where we've been trying to reduce debt and grow the economy at the same time. Now, those two things, as good as it sounds, we still have not gotten to that 5% that we've been working towards, which says that we still have an economy that can be feeble based on the shocks that we experience, noting though that we've pooled funds and we've gathered resources, but once those resources start to be expended, then we can expect that we can have that optimistic, I'd say, bounce back from where we are to where we were, and hopefully growth beyond where we were pre-Melissa.
So agriculture and mining were among the hardest hit sectors, as we saw in that report. How much of a drag will those sectors continue to be on the recovery, you think?
Well, I think it's going to be a significant drag on the recovery, and here's why. When you look at the agricultural sector and the impact of Melissa, you're talking about crops, you're talking about a recovery time that will span differently based on crops. So if a farmer, had crops that are seasonal in a particular season and that business was hurt, then you'd have to look at his recovery time. Is he a farmer that only farms, in those crops? Does he have different crops to look at? And then when you look at all those other areas, you look at exports and the farmer's ability to export. And if the exports have been affected, then that is another business line that's affected. I'm looking at farming alone. Now we're in a drought season where the NWCS say, listen, commercial use, you have to cut back on that because we're having drought. So as we continue experiencing, I would say, these natural impacts on the economy coming from natural disasters and things we can't control, farming and the farming community, the impacts on that community will continue to be great, which is why we have to look more at sustainable agriculture. Now, of course, the mining sector as well, when you look across the world and look at the demands for the different things that Jamaica mines, and the impacts that it had, Melissa, and some other impacts across the industry, which we probably haven't spoken about boldly. What we see is that as a entire sector, the mining sector now will have to pull back, but that's not going to happen overnight. That is going to take 6 months to a year probably for the mining sector to get back to the levels that it once was at. And that's because it's an entire business line in and of itself. So when you look at those things in particular, which of course, prior to Melissa, they were doing really well. You were having positive growth in agriculture. You were having really positive growth in the mining sector. But these impacts are impacts that, of course, are going to take some months, probably a year, and beyond that to get back to the levels that they were before. So they'll consistently have that drag until the business picks up again. And hopefully, fingers crossed, nothing throws off those two sectors.
This is an important one I want to ask you. The PIOJ said that output could return to pre-hurricane levels within 2 years, but full recovery in terms of homes, infrastructure and livelihoods could take as much as 5 years, right? But what's the practical difference though? So we have economic output recovery and people actually recovering, the families recovering. What's the practical difference between the two?
Well, the difference is the economy is something that is measurable in the sense of output, in terms of businesses, in terms of production, in terms of, just basically what people buy, GDP. Those are things that are easily measurable. And once it's the fact that the businesses and the production returns and people have returned to employment and those things level out, then we can say our economy is now at pre-Melissa levels. We have now recovered fully. Of course, that is going to take a shorter time than a wholesome recovery of the common man, because there are a number of things that have to be factored in. Of course, we know about NARA, we know about all the other plans of the government. Those plans are not short-term plans. Some people will get access to housing while others will have to build from scratch, and that's the reality. Housing and those all the other things that comes with housing, for you to be complete, it takes a bit of time, because even now there are some people who still yet have not gotten to that place of recovery. Yes, some people could afford to put on their roofs and more, but there are others who couldn't have. Some people have to build from scratch. Some people have to relocate. Lands have to be found for others. All of those things that you have to work out, it's going to take a longer time to get to recovery one by one for every single person. So 5 years, in some cases, 5 years can even be optimistic. But that is, I think, a fair band of time for us to look at, to ensure that, yes, those people who are in the West are properly placed as well, to ensure that the impacts of another Category 5 hurricane, that we can stymie those effects, we can be planned and prepared, because we're seeing that these disasters are more frequent. And so that's a fair time period, and the economy recovering in 2 years, it could be a little bit faster than that. Who knows, based on all the other things happening and the capital expenditure that we expect. But that is also a fair time period by the PIOJ to say that, listen, in 2 years' time, we should be at those levels that we can now start looking towards growth.
So given the pace at which you're recovering now, is it safe to say then that it's unrealistic for people to expect to go back to their usual day-to-day lives by, say, 2027? Is it unrealistic to have that type of expectation?
No, it's not unrealistic actually, because some people will. But the reality is some people will have to be relocated, because what we saw in Melissa, and what a lot of people realize, that there are some places that have been inhabited that are uninhabitable. And that is a part of, just GIS, housing, positioning, geography, all of those things coming together that can impact the economy. So yes, there are persons who are okay, they will recover, they'll be fine. By 2027, they'll be back to normal, things will be up and running. But there are others that is going to be a little bit of more long-term planning, a little bit of quantity surveying and engineering and ensuring that they're in the right location. They probably have to be relocated. They're probably going to have to get new structures altogether. And that's something that is going to take some time in terms of planning, execution, engineering, quantity surveying, and project management. And that in and of itself means that some people in the first phase have been fine. There are some people who have come out of the hurricane, and based on their damage, they have come together nicely and are good in 2026. A good amount will be good in 2027. But then, of course, for those that take the longer term planning, we are looking at a projected more long-term period.
All right. Thank you so much, Sandre. That was economist Sandre Roden. Really appreciate it. All right, we go now to news overseas, where the United Nations says around 202,000 people have been displaced by fighting